Yes, yes. Once again, y'all, we're here on the Reentry Connect podcast. I'm your host, Keenan Hudson, and we're here with title Keep Going with Miss Ivy Johnson. Yes, she has a huge story of her own, talking about she's an outreach coordinator. She's an award-winning person. She has, she's like a first-time responder. She has so many different accolades that is all good because she's going to share her story. Because everybody we bring on here has a powerful testimony. Sometimes we don't look like what we've been through, but we know it's just only by grace that we're here today to share that story. But nonetheless, before I continue, I just want to shout out One Day at a Time, old dad, Mr. Mel Wells. Appreciate all the work you do in the communities in Philadelphia. 215-226-7860. Yes, that is a great resource for recovery, great resource for all these different other things, reentry, et cetera, et cetera. Feel free to contact them. Another shout out to GPS Transportation. We appreciate them doing some of the best 5-star transport in the city of Philadelphia, tri-states, anywhere you want to go, contact them, 215-774-9913. And I know that it's another one we should be giving out. Shout out to Reverend Michelle. Yes, Why Not Prosper organization. But we're going to touch more on that. But I had to get back to this because, Reverend Michelle, she's supposed to be on here too. But we know that you are a great representation of her, Miss Ivy. So without further ado, Miss Ivy, we thank you for coming to the Reentry Connect podcast. And if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us where you're from.
Thank you, Keenan, for having me. I appreciate you.
Yes,
My name is Miss Ivy Johnson. I am from Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, born and raised. I one time migrated to Williamsport, but I'm back.
You back. Wow. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. And Ms. Ivy, we know that we brought you on for a great purpose, a great reason, like everybody else that will come on here. And we know that you have a strong testimony. I know a lot of people can refer to you in one of the reels where they see you, Wilson Projects and all that, and I know everybody is like, wow, this is actually the person that was representing where she came from, how she gave back to her community. But before giving back to your community, you were actually doing different things in the community. So if you can backpedal, just tell us how your childhood and how was your upbringing? Was it good? Was it perfect? And what type of things that land you into certain predicaments that you did not want to be in?
So my upbringing definitely was not perfect. I come from a long range of trauma, abuse, poverty, like many of your viewers probably. I was born and raised in Wilson Park Projects to a single mother. My mother was a teenage parent, actually. I'm the oldest, and I have two other siblings. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents because my mother, much like myself, suffered from a drug addiction. So I was a good student. I suffered from some sexual abuse, uh, violence.
Wow.
You name it, Keenan. I have it.
You've been through it. Wow, wow. So Ms. Ivy, so if you can share with the listeners and the viewers, now, how did you learn to cope with those type of things, or was it just an ongoing process to whereas you had to lash out and do something heinous to land into prison, or what type of things were you going through?
Yes, it was layers of anger, layers of resentment, layers of not knowing how to communicate, of not knowing how to de-escalate situations, not knowing that walking away was an option. I did what I was trained to do. I was taught to fight and fought at every opportunity. That was my way to respond to anything, was to fight.
Wow. Was to fight. So you learned a tough way growing up in South Philadelphia, and we know that what years were you brought up in? Was it the 70s, 80s?
The 70s, 80s, 90s,
90s, through all of them. So
yes.
So at what point did when you were on the street? It was a time where you went to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Now, during that time, where you had a down spiral in your life, what was going on at that time? Something, like, are you able to expound on that?
Yes. Well, a good friend of mine and her husband sent me to Williamsport for recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't grasp recovery. I wasn't ready for recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself in an abusive relationship that I really couldn't afford to exit because I was not employed. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't afford to leave. So when I got to a point where I wanted to find employment for myself, my mate changed the number so employers couldn't contact me.
Wow.
So like many addicts do, my response to that betrayal was to go out and get high. 24 hours later, I was held up in an apartment building with the police outside requesting for bullhorns that I come out.
Wow.
Because I was wanted for a homicide.
Oh my God. Wow. Mm-hmm. Got you. So we know that at this time, this must have been a really stressful, painful thing that was going on. There was so much bottled up in you from your past trauma. And here it was, you was in a current situation that you really found yourself, you really couldn't shake, couldn't get out of. So now the time comes when you were incarcerated.
Yes.
How was that life changing to you?
Well, prior to the incarceration was the court proceeding. It was the court proceeding that touched me because at that point, I had to look 7 children in the face and explain to them I had killed their mother.
Wow. Sorry.
That was the I never. With all the things I had done through my life, through my trauma, the one thing I pride myself on is that I had never hurt a child. And simultaneously, I had hurt 7.
Mm. Wow.
That was the thing that was life altering for me.
Wow. So in this situation, you see that the consequences or the results
Yes.
of one's action can not just hurt a victim, but it can actually hurt others. It can hurt family members. It can hurt friends. It can hurt loved ones.
The community,
putting others at risk, endangerment, traumatization mentally.
Yes.
So let me ask you, at that point, did you feel as though that you couldn't make it no longer? Did you feel as though your life was over, that you were never going to be able to come back from any of that?
No.
Even though you had to face?
No.
Why do you say that?
No. I felt like I knew I had to do something different. I had to make changes, but I didn't know how. Didn't know how. I felt like I had to think different. I had to move different. I had to respond different, but I didn't know what different looked like.
You didn't know. So you went to your court proceeding, and eventually we can skip over the trial and everything. Eventually you were sentenced.
Yes.
You were sentenced. You were serving time.
Yes.
What type of things were going through your mind? Were you working on yourself? Did you just bid out? Were you in a hole? What type of things were you developing within yourself to be a better you?
At different junctions, because at this point I'm serving an 18 to 42 year sentence.
Wow.
The 42 is what's promised to you. The 18 and a quarter is iffy. So you go to jail and you got this long stretch of time to be there. And you have a lot of decisions to make. Who am I going to be here in jail? At one point I was like Morgan Freeman from Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
I was the connect.
That's it.
I was the connect. That was my position in jail. I was the connect.
You was the connect.
Yes. And I had dug myself in such a hole being the connect that I had to dig myself out of it in order to get out of jail. Yet, I also went to a lot of support groups. I had a lot of treatment. I got a lot of therapy.
Gotcha.
I gained friends that I could talk to. I could say I'm feeling like this, or I'm feeling like that. And
Mhm.
one day, while talking to a mentor, I asked the mentor of mine. And I was at this time I'm in the drug and alcohol program. I was the pilot person for people who with long term sentences doing the drug and alcohol
Mhm.
program at the beginning of the sentence versus the end.
Gotcha.
So I'm at the point of the program where we have to make amends.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm the only person in the drug and alcohol program that once they complete it, who are not looking to go home. They're not going to be paroled upon completion or going to see the parole board. I have to return the population.
Mhm.
So I asked my mentor, a lot of people in the program, they have short sentences, theft. They can return the item they stole. They broke something, they can pay compensation for that. But how do I make amends for this life I took? And the mentor explained to me the only way you can make amends for taking a life is saving a life.
Wow. Could you repeat that again, please?
The only way to make amends for taking a life is to save a life.
Mm. Powerful.
So that stuck with me.
Mhm.
That stuck with me. And but once again I didn't know what that looked like either.
Mhm.
I didn't know what that looked like either. So I had that to figure out. So I kept praying, Keenan. I
Mhm.
knew I couldn't come home living the way I was living in jail.
Gotcha.
I
Mhm.
couldn't keep being a rule breaker and a violator. I couldn't keep living under the scrutiny of
Mhm.
whoever was governing me. I couldn't live like that, and I knew it. So I kept praying, Lord, please change this, fix this.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, although I was just getting out the hole, I was called to administration to be made aware that I was going to be transferred to another prison.
Mhm.
And although I didn't want to go to this prison, my supply line would be cut.
Mhm. Yeah.
I couldn't do at the new prison what I was doing at the old prison. So
Gotcha.
my higher power answered my prayer. He did for
Mhm.
me what I couldn't do for myself.
Gotcha.
So now I'm at the new prison. So now I get to cultivate a new me.
Mhm.
So at that prison, I became information IT.
Mhm.
How do I do this? How do I move like this? How do I get this job? How do I get in this class? I became information IT.
Information. Wow.
Until to the day, I am information IT.
Wow. So it took for you to come to yourself, contact with your spirituality,
Yes,
and then on top of that, you had to change environment.
yes,
So your environment in which you had your way, where things were able to be predicted within your hands, you had to
yes,
go into a place which was unfamiliar to you.
yes,
Unfamiliar people, learning a new process, learning a new way of living, a new way
yes,
of thinking.
yes,
So this is the things that had to take place in order to have the right transformation. So
yes,
that's powerful that the listeners are hearing this,
yes,
because it's really relatable for some people that's going through this right now.
yes.
So continue, Ms. Ive. I know you spent a total of how many years in prison before you came up for parole in your release date?
18 and a quarter years.
18 quarter years until you were able to see parole and have your release.
Yeah.
Now, when you went up to parole, did you think they were going to let you go?
And now that's a whole nother story, Kaden.
Okay, okay, it's okay. Okay, if we
I
can bypass it,
really did not know.
you did not know.
I did not know.
So your faith wavered.
Prayed on it. I
Yeah.
prayed on it and I prayed on it. And I went to see the parole board and I did the best possible job that I could do. And I came back and I prayed some more.
Mm.
And it took me 16 weeks to get a green sheet.
Ooh, oh, you were shivering.
Oh, I kept
You,
running downstairs. I kept looking at that call out. I kept running downstairs, looking at that call out. So at one point, I just said, I'm just not going to run down there anymore. So one night, I was restless and I couldn't sleep. And I got up and I turned the TV on and this show came on. And
mhm,
the show was talking about if you want something really bad, live like you have it. If
mm,
you if you want $1 million, live like you have $1 million. So I'm thinking, I was like, what do I want the most? What now? It never said faith, but that's what the show was about. The show was about faith.
faith.
And I said, well, I want more than anything to go on. So the next day I woke up and I decided I was gonna pack my stuff up and I was gonna start giving people stuff. I gave
Wow.
people cigarettes. I gave them clothes. I didn't art supplies that you can't get anymore. They were like very valuable items because you couldn't
Mm,
purchase them anymore. But I had this stack of books called Uncle John's Bathroom Readers, and they were trivia books. I love trivia. And I
mhm,
used to sit with the special needs lady, and I would play this form of Jeopardy that I had developed. And I would
mhm,
sit there, and we would play this little game, and all the officers knew I loved these books. So when they see me giving away these books, they got alarmed. So next
mhm.
thing I know, they're sending me to psych. Because come to find out that giving away your personal property or things you value is a sign that you may be suicidal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they sent me to psych. So I told the psych, I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm going home. I don't need this stuff anymore. So they sent me back and told the officer there's nothing wrong with her. She just believes she's going home.
Mhm,
So Keenan, it had to be maybe 5 days later.
mm.
Somebody called, hollered up and said, Ivy, you on the call out. You on the
Wow.
call
They is
out.
watching for you.
Yes, Ivy, watching for you. And I
Woo.
go downstairs and I look at the call out. Now there's two different ladies you can get your green sheet from.
Yeah.
One lady is said to be the lady you see if you get the hit. One lady said to be the lady that you see if you're going home.
Wow.
I go to see the lady that gives you the hit.
Wow.
So now I'm praying, Lord God, just make it less than a year. Lord God, just give me 3 months. And I'm walking over there and I'm walking slow. And I get there and the lady tells me to have a seat. And she hands me the envelope and I read the envelope. And when I get to like the third paragraph, it says, congratulations, you're being released.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, Keenan.
Yes.
Keenan. And
Yes.
let me tell you, anyone who's been incarcerated know when you have a violent crime, the likelihood
Yeah.
of you going home the first time is like,
It's like, yeah, that's true. Same way happened with me. Yeah, that's true.
right.
That's right.
I went home 21 days over my minimum, my first time up for parole.
Mm. Wow. They released you.
Yes.
They wanted to see, because a lot of times that's a tested, like you say, a testing of the faith. As you said, faith, you
Yes.
know, it's the evidence of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen.
Yes.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not
Yes.
seen. But it's like, wow, your faith was tried even over your minimum. They
Yes.
waited to give you a green sheet. So it's powerful, it's profound that you acted on faith, and then there was. You acted, the way as if it was, even though it wasn't yet.
Yes.
And that's powerful. So what was your feelings like when you did return to society? Did you have a plan? Did you have to go to a halfway house? What was running through your mind at that time?
Well, I requested to go to a halfway house.
Okay.
I requested
Nice.
to go to a halfway house because I felt like I needed a buffer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
I,
very important.
I felt like I needed a buffer. Yet I didn't know what a halfway house looked like.
Mm.
I think I had the wrong perspective of what a halfway house looked like.
Okay.
I know during my incarceration, a lot of people came back from halfway houses.
Yeah.
And they would say, oh, it's a setup. And I'd be like, oh, that's just you. Oh, that's just you. You ain't money bad enough. That's you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But then when I got to the halfway house, I would see how people with less wherewithal would tap out there.
Wow.
I could see where that would happen.
You can see.
I okay, I get a job. I can't go to the job because the halfway house is locked down because somebody on the other side did something. Why can't I go to work?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like another warehousing situation.
Yeah.
At least the one I was at. I can't speak to them all.
And
that way about the one I was at.
Yeah. And truth be told, a lot of times, and I think Ms. Baylock even says here that was smart, that's wisdom, because I always encourage individuals too that's coming on when they ask me for advice. I'd say sometimes it may be wise to go to a halfway house because of the responsibility. You're not going to be able to carry that responsibility right away anyway.
Right.
So even though it may still feel like being in prison, you still have leeway to go out and get a job. Yes, you may suffer the consequences due to other people's, retarded actions in the halfway house, but it's transitioning you slowly, because anybody that just comes right into a house, you're going to have to pay bills, so you better hurry up and get a job, or you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to. So you want to relieve some of that pressure that you may not be able to handle. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not easy to juggle a mortgage or rents and things like that. And on top of that, bills stacked on top. Because let's face it, when we were in prison, the only bill we really had was a cable bill.
Was a cable bill.
You know what I'm saying? Unless you had to pay some restitutions or court costs and fines and things like that. But
and the first part of my incarceration, I didn't even have that because we didn't have cable yet.
Wow, that's great. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine transitioning to a world where it's like you've been away for a while, you don't know what the economy is like. So, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but you came and Miss Baylock says here, she said that's added stress and pressure, and you have to manage your expectations.
Yes.
And that's totally true. And when you try to explain it to some people, sometimes they, oh no, I want to do this, or you want to live with a girl, or they want to do. I'm thinking like, yo, you setting yourself up for failure.
Yes.
This a process that you just gotta be matured up and say, you know what? If I've been through all these years in prison, I could go through a little bit of halfway house.
That was my take. Mm-hmm. That was my take. Mm-hmm. And everything I say is from a long, and I always like people to know this.
Yeah. People
who did shorter sentences are going to have different perspectives on people who did long-term sentences. Exactly. Even care for short-term sentences is different from care from juvenile lifers versus long-term offenders. You can't cookie cut the care because the case ain't cookie cutter. And I try to explain that to people. My perspective is that from a long-term offender. I remember being at the halfway house, waking up in the morning, good morning. And people are like, well, what's so good about it? Girl, I ain't in jail. What are you talking about? What's good about it? I ain't in jail. I can tell you what ain't good about what's good about it. And I would get snarls and everything. But I was just so grateful to not be in jail. Mm-hmm. I wasn't completely free, but I wasn't completely in jail either.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's where my heart was. And the positive side of what was I able to obtain while being in the halfway house was I found out about the school Connections Training Center, and it was operated by people who were formerly incarcerated. Mm. And I was able to meet who I want to say it was a great man, Mr. Rashad Salahuddin. Mm. And Mr. Rashad Salahuddin saw something in me that I couldn't quite see in myself yet. He saw a leader. He saw a leader. I was by the time my class had went on for a couple of months, I was the only female there. And Mr. Salahuddin would come in and give me the clipboard and say, Johnson, you got the class. Wow. Remind you, my classmates are federal inmates being bussed in from Fort Dix. Wow. And I'm the only female. Wow. And I got the clipboard. Wow. Many of these gentlemen are still my brothers. They're still my good friends, still my brothers, still there for me today. Mm-hmm. But
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rashad Salahuddin cleaned my brain.
Mm.
I don't want to say brainwash me, but he cleaned my brain.
Change your brain. Wow.
The goal is to stay out the hole. He calls jail the hole.
Yeah.
He taught me the eulogy of Julius Caesar, which gave me confidence to do public speaking that I still do today.
Mm. Wow.
You
Wow.
know.
So,
Yes.
Miss Ivy, so eventually through your process and you working your way, you were, literally tiptoeing, taking step by step. And you came home in what year?
2015, November 25th.
2015. Wow, I came home in 2016. But that's excellent. Congratulations. You're up on your 8th year, coming up on your 9th.
Yes.
Yes, that's a powerful thing. I congratulate you on that. So let me ask you, so you was taking step by step. And then I know I want to get to the Why Not Prosper and the
Okay.
organizations and things like that. And we see Ms. Bay, like she said, that's a blessing when someone can see what you don't see. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely. Sometimes we need that, type of reflection in our lives because a lot of times we want to see things our way.
Yes.
But it's sometimes people can see that greater, that greater in you than he that is in the world.
Oh, come on.
So it's so many things and perspectives, but this is why this podcast is very great because it shows people this is how I cope with it. Not saying that it may not work for you that way, but
right.
It's a way to look at it, a perspective.
Yes.
So you came around a time where you were doing, I know you came and stumbled, I guess, across the Why Not Prosper and the swag and things like that. I want you to fill us in on how did you come across that program with the Why Not Prosper and to where you are today?
So, I'm also an active member of Mothers in Charge.
Oh, wow. Dr. Dorothy.
Yes, Dr. Dorothy.
Wow.
Hallelujah. Another one of my mentors, a great woman. When I joined Mothers in Charge, I learned, I don't even know how to put this, Kenan. I was around people who had lost more than I lost.
Mm.
They had lost their children.
Wow.
What greater loss is it than to lose a child and some multiple children?
Mm-hmm.
So how can I be stuck when these women are still moving?
Wow.
That's what I learned from Mothers in Charge. These women were loving on me and nurturing me. They had every reason to be angry, bitter, and complacent, and they were not.
Wow.
They were mobile. They were caring. They were nurturing.
Wow.
How dare me get stuck?
Yeah.
So I was at an event with Miss Dorothy, and it was about straw gun purchases. Mm-hmm. And Reverend Michelle was there.
Wow, Reverend Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle was there, and that's where I met her. So sometime, and she said she wanted to speak to me then, but she didn't want to encroach on Miss Dorothy, respect there. And later on, I was looking for employment, and a mutual friend said, "Hey, why don't you call Rev?" So I called Rev. She said, "Oh my God, this is Ivy. I've been wanting to have you on my team." She gave me an interview, over the phone interview. And fill out the paperwork. And I've been with her ever since. I was there for I used to work inside the house. I was a house monitor. And then I was a house monitor. And then once again, she started giving out assignments and stuff. She said, "Ivy, you're the outreach coordinator."
So let's touch on that. So Why Not Prosper is an organization based upon what?
But okay, Why Not Prosper is a housing facility for women returning from incarceration. Now they offer job training, skills, family reunification, you name it. Why Not Prosper offers, and Why Not Prosper doesn't have it. Rev will get
it. Yeah.
Okay, so SWAG is the social justice arm of Why Not Prosper, and SWAG stands for Sisters with the Goal. Goal being to interrupt violence and racial disparities, address women health care issues, and support women who are both currently and formerly incarcerated. SWAG is where I'm the outreach coordinator of the Social Justice Arm of Why Not Prosper.
Wow.
I am the first outreach coordinator.
First outreach, that's powerful. So if they wanted to contact the Why Not Prosper office, how do they contact you?
Simply dial 215-842-2360.
Yes, and I'm quite sure that front office can direct them in whichever services that may be needed for their current situation.
Absolutely.
So I know, like you said, you mentioned, halfway house, transitional housing, employment opportunities, even outreach opportunities as well.
Yes.
I actually been to your location, and it's really nice there, really nice inside, things like that. I know Reverend
Miss Yolanda does all the decorations.
Yeah, so everything is just hooked up out there.
Yes.
And that's very powerful for you ladies to come together like that. And I know that at times people find it hard to believe that a person can stay home for so many years. A person can stay out of trouble. Anything is possible when you put in your mind to it, when you keeping your faith, and you don't you don't start losing faith in the midst of the storms.
And you reach out.
Yeah.
A lot of people suffer in silence.
And it's
suffer
okay.
in silence. Reach out.
That's
it. I'm not really tech savvy. Yeah. So I'm so glad I got your number, so I can say, Keenan, I got to do so. Can you help me?
Yeah.
I'm willing to ask for help because I don't have it all figured out. But in my team, I will.
Yeah. That's it.
On my team, I will.
Yeah.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
It's a village.
They say there's safety in the multitude of counsel.
Come on.
That's always the wisdom. A lot of times people forget that when you lean into your own understanding in general, you'll always lose your way. You know what I mean? So it's always important to know that there's going to be safety in the multitude of counsel. Wise people. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's up to us, again, the environment. You spoke earlier how viable a mentor was. You spoke how viable it was to, like you said, reach out to people, let people know you're going through some things. It's okay. We don't know everything. I have struggles with things too, so I might have to reach out to somebody to help me.
Yes.
So that's very good. So let me ask, so Ms. Ivy, so we know you're doing all these things, powerful things in the community and everything, but if you could give some motivational words or encouragement to individuals that may be in the halfway house, they may be in a recovery home, they may be locked up in prison right now as we speak, or to anybody, what type of motivational words would you give them?
I would say keep going, no matter what. Keep going. Don't stop. Move back, reassess, reevaluate, and keep going. It's okay to rewrite your plan, but never stop. Never stop. And never stop praying, because prayer works. I prayed my way out of jail. Pray and move.
Pray and move. And that's a very good inspiration and not a good motivational message right there that you have for the people, Ms. Ivy. And I know that everybody really enjoyed a lot of what you said, and I believe a lot of them are inspired. You had a lot of comments there. As you said, like I see Ms. Baylock, she saying she loved this. Ms. Jessica here, she said, thank you for sharing your story. So many different things. Even people over on Instagram, the people say people in love. We appreciate everybody that's been commenting. Even over on LinkedIn, people say, like different things. And on the other platforms too. Keep up the good work and everything. Here goes Ms. Baylock again. She says, yes, Ms. Ivy, it's okay to rewrite your plan. The plan may change, but the goal remains the same. And we know that it's extremely true. And again, we try to share it with people, and sometimes some people get it, some people don't. But I don't want to say some people don't. Some people take a little more time to get, because again, as you said, everybody operates differently.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everybody's not the same.
Right.
You may understand ABC 1, 2, 3, but somebody else may only understand colors and shapes.
Right.
So all this, it's a learning experience. Even from the predicament I've been in. Even though people may say, "Oh, you have a lot of wisdom, instead of third," but that didn't come from my own understanding. That was something that was given from above.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? All good gifts comes from above. So it's not that, I try to flaunt it or anything, but I do it to help another. As you said earlier, the only way you can literally give back in life is to save one. And sometimes it's not easy in life in the way we cope with it. But again, never said it would be easy, but our higher power said he'll always be with us. So is there anything else you would like to share before we end this podcast?
Yes, I would like to make people aware of our initiative.
Oh, yes, the initiative.
We did some research and we found out that the prisons are basically overcrowded with Black and brown people. Not due to new charges, but due to violations.
Okay.
So we started this initiative. It's called Straight Outta Trouble. If you've been on probation and you've been doing good and you might want to get off early, call a number. You've been absconding, you haven't been going to see your probation officer. You want to get that straightened out, give us a call. You have a warrant, you want to get that warrant addressed as painless as possible. Give us a call. We may be able to help you. Help us help you.
There you go. There you go. So as she just mentioned, she said, if you're having problems or any trouble with Philadelphia probation, parole, even if you want to run.
I parole probation.
Probation. I'm sorry. And as you said, if you're absconding, a lot of people don't know what absconding, but if you're on the run.
Yes.
If you're running away right now, you ducking and dodging left to right, and you don't know where to turn. She's giving you an outlet in which you can actually reach out to them and they can actually help you with your situation. So there it is. So what's the number they should be calling, Ms. Ivy?
866 See Me Now 5.
See Me Now 5.
Yes.
Regain your freedom at the Detainer Clinic every Monday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on 717 East Shelton Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19144. That's in the Germantown section. But call in first so you can get the right information and they can steer you in the right direction. But
we right next to the Social Security building.
Right next door, right there, giving back to the community, doing the best things. Shout out to Reverend Michelle again. I know she's always having a blast and always want to get people involved and giving back. I appreciate her so much.
And call aerobic engagement band out to your community.
In the community, exactly. Yeah. So much. We definitely got to get on here again. I can't wait to have Miss Michelle on here as well. But we thank you again, Ms. Ivy Johnson. We appreciate you being an outreach coordinator, first-time responder, award-winning. You've done a lot. We congratulate you for being out for a whole, 8 years. It's a blessing to be out here with you. You know what I mean? Because I've been home 2016, and it's like, wow. I look around like 7 years and past that fast. And sometimes we look back like that. I ain't know all that time about that fast. We eating good, we looking good. You know what I'm saying? People like that. I gained a lot of weight, because that happy stuff. Because you got varieties out here. You have options, and there. So it's a lot, but we can go on and on all night. But without further ado, everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Reentry Connect podcast. Keep going with Miss Ivy Johnson. Yes, I'm your host, Keenan Hudson. But till next time, peace, everybody.